Hi, and welcome to today's video. I'm Mary Felling. I'm a physical therapist, and the last 25 years I've specialized in an area called the John Barnes Myofascial Release techniques. Today's treatment techniques are for the shoulder. I'm going to be showing you about 3 different ones to do. They're very good for helping relieving pain through the shoulder area, helping release any tension and tightness that has created a change in the structural alignment, so you're back where you're supposed to be, and also relieve pain. So let's get started. All right, so today we're going to be working in the shoulder, front, side, top of shoulder for shoulder pain. And most of you can be using your hands of the opposite shoulder to treat, but I'm going to use a few tools and I'll describe them as I'm using them. First area we're going to treat is right across here. Using your fingers, making kind of a C curve and keeping them nice and tight. You want to find, you're going to crawl across the front of your shoulder. You're feeling for any area that's tight or tender, because that's where we're going to work. And as I come across, I already have a tender spot here, kind of on the pectoral muscle. And as I come closer to my breastplate, the manubrium, I'm even more tender. So really, for me, I need to work in here. I know it's the shoulder, but I'll explain why you'd work here to help the shoulder. And if I go back again, and I'm going to come across, and I have another really good tight spot in here. So I'm going to set the alarm for, the watch for 5 minutes. This is myofascial release. So get in your position, stop this video if you haven't found a sore or tight spot yet until you find one, and then start the video back up and we'll be on our 5 minutes. Also, what I want to show you, for those of you who are looking for something else to use because maybe the hand and the shoulder on the other side is also sore and you can't, you start using soft tissue treatment tools. This particular one is called a TheraCane. This is what I'm going to use today. It's very simple. It's also to use, but it really gives a lot of good pressure into the areas of myofascial restrictions. I'll talk about those in a little bit. So for me, this is kind of where I'm tender right here. That's where I'm going to stay. And it's if you can see, my shoulders are down, you can see my elbows are in. If any of you have a history of a torn rotator cuff, if any of you have a dislocated shoulder in your history, probably don't do this. For sure, if you have a dislocated shoulder in your history, do not do this video. There's other things we can do for you. And in the meantime, for those of you now who are compressing in, what you're doing is you're putting in mechanical energy into the body, the mechanical energy of pressure. And in the myofascial release arena, when you place mechanical energy, in this case pressure, into the human body for 5 minutes, it starts this electrical flow called the piezoelectric effect. And that piezoelectric effect, as it flows through the system, and it happens to flow through the fascia, that big cobweb in our body, when it comes to places that are tight and tender, it helps those to soften, rehydrate, and lengthen out. Some of you may use this or your fingers to manipulate the front of your chest. Keep your pressure where you are. I'm just going to show you a few things here. And as you go across, you might say, well, I really don't feel any pain or tenderness at all. It just feels like a rock. Okay, find the most firm, rigid rock area you have across the front of your shoulder, and you want to work there. That's a sign that you've got a good myofascial restriction that has probably been there for years and has created so much tension in there, your poor little nerve endings can't even send signals to the brain to tell it it's tender. But once you're on a good myofascial restriction and you've been in there 30 seconds on a tight spot with no pain, you may very well start feeling tenderness and painfulness, and that's great because it means you're right where you need to be. So while you're working, you're really staying soft. You're letting your shoulders stay soft. You're letting your arms stay soft so that your finger of your other hand, you can even use 2 fingers, or your TheraCane can get in there. And if I didn't already tell you this, the link will be below in the description of this video so you can find where to get your TheraCane, have it sent to you. So we're about 2.5 minutes in, 3 minutes in, and you're just softening, you're feeling for releases. Some of you may be here and you go, oh my gosh, I feel this going up in my neck, into my head. What your body is telling you is you've just found a myofascial restriction that has created tension through the cobweb, through the fascial system, into other areas of your body, and are affecting other areas of your body. In a full treatment session, I'd have you go back and have you treat those other areas too. So keep your pressure on your tender, your tight spot. I'm going to take my cane away. And while you're in there, you can kind of angle around on the spot. Don't go across the spot. That's massaging and rubbing, and that's not myofascial release. You have to stay on the spot consistently, uninterrupted for a minimum of 5 minutes. But you can angle on the spot to find which angle gives you the greatest amount of discomfort. And as long as you're relaxed, and as long as you're breathing naturally, you're not going to hurt yourself. If you're in the kind of pain though where you're tightening and stiffening because of the pain, or it's making you hold your breath, that is too much and you need to back out a little bit. So we're coming up on our 5 minutes. We've got about 15 seconds left. Keep holding where you are, and doing this is what starts that electrical flow, so that as it goes through the fascia in that area that's glued down, that's called the myofascial restriction, it'll release it. All right, if you want, you can keep going. That won't hurt you. For those of you who 5 minutes is enough, that's great. We're going to go on to the next treatment technique. All right, so here's our second technique. The second technique is for the top of the shoulder, also known as the upper trap. You know those knots that you get up here, friends tell you about their knots they have in their shoulders? Those are myofascial restrictions. And again, you can use your hand to find the tension, and we'll do that in a minute, to find a myofascial restriction, as long as you feel like that arm or that hand has enough 5 minute staying power. Sometimes people have problems with their other appendage, and that shoulder or that elbow or that wrist is not up to par, and so you can't hold it for 5 minutes. So you'd want to go back and use the Theracane. Again, this is in the description below. So I'm going to use the Theracane, and for those of you using your fingers, again, it's curled tight, and you're going to walk like a spider across the top of your shoulder, just right to where the neck starts heading up below your ear, and even a little bit behind, maybe an inch or two. All of that is the upper trap, and again, you're feeling for an area that's tight or an area that's tender, and when you come to it, that's where your pressure goes. Now, this is kind of an awkward position to really keep pressure going for 5 minutes. Do your best if you don't have a tool around, but I would suggest getting something like this. So let's put our clock up and go for 5 minutes. And when you use this tool, your hand presses down, top hand presses down towards the base of the cane, and the other hand pushes away. And between these two pressures, you get compression back here. Now, all those instructions come with your cane. So I'm pressing down and away, and I've got some pressure back there. I've already found my spot. For those of you who haven't found your spot, pause the camera and come back when you're there. So again, I am putting a mechanical energy of compression into the upper trap, and I already feel this going up into the right side of my head. So what's happened is the fascial system is telling me you have a restriction here in the shoulder that has created tension over time. This isn't in one day it's done. This has probably taken years. That goes up into the fascial web up inside the cranium, or the muscles of the cranium, temporalis, some of the other muscles. Now I'm going to take the cane away. Everybody else, keep your pressure on. Remember, it's a minimum of 5 minutes. And by the way, it's a minimum of 5 minutes. If you start feeling releases, which feels like less pain, some mobility, warmth, you might have an emotion or a memory come up. If that's happening, stay there. You can stay there 10 or 15 minutes. You won't injure yourself. You just get more and more releases in the area. All right, so this fascia I've been talking about is like a big cobweb in our body, and it runs from the bottom of our feet up to the top of our head, side to side and front to back. And that cobweb surrounds, supports, and it infuses every structure in our body. So we use the term myofascial. Myo just means muscle, and fascia is that cobweb that runs through the muscle. But it also surrounds and supports and infuses blood vessels, nerves, ligaments, organs, tendons, your spinal cord, your brain, eyeballs, skin, everything, even bones have this sinewy cobweb through and around it. And when there's an injury to the body, which can be from overuse, because we're on our feet all day, we're a bent society, we're forward. And that's one of the reasons I'm working through here, is because a lot of shoulder pain has come on slowly over the years from our bent society, keeping our shoulders forward over our desks or kids, or if you're a laborer or a painter or you're a surgeon or a nurse, we're always forward like this. So the idea of some of these techniques is just to get you back in your normal posture, to take the pain and strain off the body around the shoulder. So we're at about halfway through the pressure here. So this fascia binds down like baling wire. It compresses and it gets sticky and stuck because it's getting dehydrated because there's inflammation in the area. Well, when it does that, it creates a lot of pressure on those pain-sensitive tissues like the muscle, nerves, the vascular supply, etc. And so that area becomes painful and that area starts getting tight. So my grandmother, she used to knit sweaters from one skein of yarn. So if this were one of her sweaters and I caught a snag on that sweater, you could see how it create tension through the rest of the sweater. It's the same with the fascia in our body. When an area has been injured, it can create tension through that fascial web to other areas of our body. So when you're working on yourself and you do feel kind of a finger-like projections going out or a sudden symptom in another part of your body while you're working on it, it means you found a really good spot. And actually in treatment, what we would say is go ahead and treat those other spots too. But that's on another video. So I want to go back to the Theracane for a minute. So when you're using the Theracane, there are instructions that come with it, but your top hand for this activity right now, top hand goes on this top bar here. Your bottom hand, palm faces away from you, holding the bottom of the cane. The top is pressing down. I'm not using a lot of pressure. It doesn't take too much if you're really tight and sore. I'm putting pressure constantly down towards the base of the cane and pushing out simultaneously. And as I use those two pressures, it creates a force bearing down on the upper traps here on the hook of the cane. So again, we're staying here 5 minutes minimum, and as I said, you can go 10 to 15 minutes. You'll just get more and more releases. So we're coming up to the end of our 5 minutes. I'm going to continue on one more technique for the shoulder to help regain natural mobility and reduce pain. But you're welcome to continue 5 or 10 minutes. Just put a pause on the video and then come back at this point and we'll go to that third technique. All right, so this third technique is going to use the mechanical energy of elongation and tractioning. And just like the compression techniques that we used in the last two treatments, elongation and tractioning is a mechanical energy, and when that's placed into the human body, it too elicits that piezoelectric effect. So what you want to do is you can get a strap. If you have an exercise strap at home, that's great. If not, just use the towel, or excuse me, use a belt from a robe, just as effective. And the technique goes like this. You're going to place your hands behind your back. I'm going to turn to the side for a minute so you can see that. So your hands are like this behind your back, and you squeeze your shoulder blades together and you lift your chest up towards the ceiling. And in this position, you're helping to open everything across from the AC joint, your anterior shoulder tendons and soft tissues, and the chest as well, the thoracic inlet. That's always part of shoulder problems. And you're just elevating your chest to the point you feel a nice pull through the front of your chest or across to the front of your arm. It should not be painful. It just should make you very aware, oh my goodness, I'm tight there. So where does the strap come in? Well, to stay in that position for a while, that might take some strength. So the strap is just to help you hold the position. This happens to have little hand placements. But with your, if you're using a rope, you're going to kind of do this kind of a thing. So it goes behind you. Make sure you get a good tight hand placement into the strap you're using. And you can just rest your hands back. You don't have to hold them up. You just rest your hands behind you on your bed, your couch, table, whatever you're working on. You squeeze your shoulder blades together. You lift your chest towards the ceiling. And that's it. And again, you do not want to feel sharp pain, painful symptoms that are so bad it makes you, scream. And we're going to start that right now. That clock is up on its 5-minute timer. And as you're here, again, you're looking for anything opening through here. And an opening will feel like a stretch. It might feel like less pain. You might feel like more pain to begin with, because probably these tissues, and most of us, have not been touched in a long time. We've been in flexion society. We've been like this. We've curved over our desks and our kids and our work all day. And to do this, we're counteracting the flexion society, the bent society we're in. We're trying to give ourselves some of our elasticity so we can stand up straight, take the strain off of the neck. Yes, this kind of thing puts a lot of strain on the neck. So if you have both shoulder and neck pain, this strap activity is really good also to help your neck. And what I just said is this activity is really good to help your neck. So the chest is up, you're kind of lifting your chin a little. And as you're doing this, you're feeling for where you feel the most symptom. And you might feel a whole general area. Some people might feel burning. Some people might just feel, oh, this just feels like a stretch. Great, stay there. And some people might feel, it just feels tight. Continue to stay there, especially if you just feel tight, because you really need to work in this area. It's changing the position of your bones. This AC joint gets affected when we're really tight. And by the way, if you are sore and you do know you have this is the acromion clavicular joint, AC joint. And if you have tenderness somewhere through here, kind of where that bump along the clavicle, that's the collarbone, right back here. If you have pain, do not sleep on that shoulder side. Also, if you're having a lot of shoulder pain, don't sleep on your shoulders. Sleep on your back or the opposite shoulder. This one is also contraindicated. If you've ever dislocated your shoulder, you can't do this one. Don't do it. So you're still in this position. We're about halfway through. And you kind of close your eyes. I'm going to do a little technique with you now. This is a mind-body technique. So in your mind's eye, I want you to see inside your body where you feel any tightness, where you feel soreness or pain, and get a three-dimensional picture of what that looks like. Maybe it looks like a pile of bricks. Maybe it looks like some dark tarry goo or some crumbled up baling wire. Whatever its presentation, see that start to soften, release, and see it moving out towards the surface of your skin. See an opening in the surface of your skin, and get as much of that pain or tightness or discomfort out. And when you've gotten it all out, or as much as you possibly can get out, close the opening behind it. Go back and start feeling again. Some of you might have a memory and think, oh, I remember when I was a kid and I was playing soccer and I got knocked in the head and the shoulder with the ball, or somebody running into me. That's probably where some of that shoulder problem started. But remember, I was talking about that cobweb, how it's like the sweater that my grandmother used to knit? Well, this could also, a problem in the shoulder could have been a problem in your trunk or your pelvis years ago from your low back, but it could also be something direct from repetitive use or overuse. like our bent society. So you never know where it's from. Trust what you're feeling. If you get a visual of it, see it melting and see it softening, move it out of your system. Some people, when I've treated my patients, every once in a while someone would have an emotion come up. And John Barnes always talks about when we have emotional releases, it's a really deep healing in the body. It's been there a long time. It's probably been affecting you in ways you couldn't know. So if you have a feeling come up, just honor it. You're letting go of it. It's getting out of your system. Wahoo, your body's finally releasing this. You've been walking around with that. All right, so we're coming up to 5 minutes. And again, stay in this position, especially if you haven't felt a change. Stay in it another 5 minutes, even when this video ends. And again, you can find the equipment. I'll also put the strap, how you can find that, in the description for this video. All right, great seeing all of you again. Take care of yourselves. Remember, you want to continue doing this for 14 days in a row so that you can continue to release and get some positive changes. And then after 14 days, continue it for 2 to 3 times a week, as long as you possibly can, because what you're doing with this now, it's like going to the gym. You want to get in shape for a body that you want, but then you don't stop going to the gym. You keep going to maintain that new body. Same with these techniques. 2 weeks to help you get a better shoulder, to improve your posture and to improve the pain that's there if part of your problem is pain. And then you continue doing it 2 to 3 times a week, because the society doesn't go away. We're still in the flexion, and you want to combat this by doing the techniques we just did, so the rest of your life you feel really good and you're walking around able to do what you want. All right, have a wonderful rest of your day. I'll see you on the next video. Thank you.